The hospital room was supposed to be a place of safety, but for Maya, it quickly became a nightmare. Exhausted from childbirth, she reached for her newborn son, only to realize he was no longer in his bassinet. Panic set in as she spotted a nurse near the door, cradling her baby and walking away. "Excuse me, where are you taking my son?" Maya's voice trembled, but the nurse barely turned around. "Oh, don't worry," the woman said with a forced smile. "We just need to run a few extra tests." But something felt wrong. Maya had been in hospitals before, she knew standard procedures. And why wouldn't the nurse meet her eyes? Heart pounding, she reached for the call button, but before she could press it, the door swung open. A tall figure stepped inside, her husband, and the moment the nurse saw him, her face drained of color. Maya's breath hitched as her husband, Jordan, stepped forward. His sharp gaze locked onto the nurse, his presence commanding the room. As the owner of the hospital, he knew every protocol, every procedure, and this wasn't one of them. "Where are you taking my son?" His voice was calm, but there was no mistaking the authority behind it. The nurse hesitated, clutching the baby a little tighter. "I was just following orders," she stammered. "He needs further examination." Jordan's expression didn't change. "Who gave you that order?" Silence. The nurse's eyes darted around the room, as if searching for an escape. Maya's heart pounded harder. Something was off, very off. The baby let out a soft whimper, snapping Maya into action. "Give me my child," she demanded, standing up despite her weakness. But instead of complying, the nurse took a small step back. And that's when Jordan knew this wasn't a mistake. Jordan's jaw tightened as he took another step forward, his eyes locked on the nurse. Maya felt her legs shaking beneath her, but fear turned to determination. Something wasn't right, and she wasn't going to let anyone take her child. The nurse clutched the baby closer, her hands trembling. I need to go," she mumbled, glancing toward the door. Jordan's voice was low but firm. "You're not taking another step." Maya's mind raced. How had this woman gotten into their room? Where were the other nurses? She had seen plenty of staff earlier. Why was it suddenly so quiet? Then, something clicked. She remembered seeing the nurse earlier, but not as part of the delivery team. No ID badge, no introduction. "Who are you?" Maya demanded, her voice sharp. The woman's breathing grew erratic. She was cornered. But instead of answering, she did something that sent a chill down Maya's spine. She reached into her pocket. Jordan's body tensed as he saw the nurse's hand disappear into her pocket. His instincts screamed danger, but he couldn't make a sudden move. His son was still in her arms. Maya's breath caught in her throat, her eyes darting between the woman and her husband. "Stop," Jordan commanded, his voice sharp. "Slowly take your hand out and show me what's inside." The nurse hesitated, her fingers twitching. Beads of sweat formed along her hairline. Maya could feel the energy in the room shift. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. This woman had a reason for being here, and it had nothing to do with medical care. The baby whimpered again, and Maya's heart clenched. Every second felt heavier than the last. Just then, footsteps echoed from a hallway. A voice, firm, authoritative, called out, "Dr. Carter, is everything okay?" The nurse's eyes widened. She was out of time. And in that moment, she made her move. Before Jordan could react, the nurse lunged toward the door, cradling the baby protectively against her chest. Maya let out a panicked cry, instinct driving her forward, but Jordan was faster. He grabbed the woman's wrist just as she reached for the handle. "Let go of my son," he growled, his grip tightening. The nurse struggled, her breath coming in quick gasps. "You don't understand," she whispered desperately. "He doesn't belong here." Maya froze. "What do you mean?" Her voice was barely above a whisper. The hallway outside grew louder. More footsteps. A security guard's voice calling Jordan's name. The nurse's eyes darted wildly as if calculating her next move. Then, she did something that made Maya's stomach drop. She stopped fighting. Instead, she looked straight at Jordan and said, "Ask your staff what they've been hiding from you." Jordan's blood ran cold. Before he could respond, the door burst open. And security rushed in, their eyes locking onto the nurse. "Step away from the baby," one of them ordered, hands hovering near their radios. But the nurse didn't move. Instead, she looked directly at Jordan. "They lied to you," she said, voice trembling. "Your son, he was never supposed to be here." Maya clutched Jordan's arm, her heart pounding. What is she talking about? Jordan's mind raced. He built this hospital from the ground up. He knew its protocols inside and out. But the fear in the nurse's eyes wasn't just desperation, it was something else. Security carefully pried the baby from her arms. Maya collapsed into Jordan, relief washing over her as she held their child close. But the nurse's final words made his stomach twist. "Check the birth records," she whispered as they led her away. He isn't the only baby they switched. Jordan's world shifted. If she was telling the truth, this was far from over. Jordan wasted no time. As soon as the nurse was escorted out, he turned to a nearby doctor. "Pull the birth records." Now, his voice left no room for argument. Maya sat on the hospital bed, holding her son close, her mind swirling with fear and uncertainty. Could it be true? Had other families been affected? Minutes felt like hours until a staff member returned, their face pale. "Sir, there are discrepancies," they admitted. "Several newborns' records don't match." Maya's breath caught. Jordan clenched his fists. This wasn't just a single mistake. This was bigger. By morning, an internal investigation was launched. A handful of staff members were questioned, revealing a shocking scheme of switched babies and hidden secrets. But thanks to Maya's instincts and Jordan's quick action, their son was safe. As they left the hospital, Maya held her baby tighter. Justice would come, but for now, they had what mattered most: their family, whole and together.